Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, your daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath. I should have inhaled before I said that because I couldn't. Raghunath. With co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam show. We are here with our senior executive director, Mara. She's actually not here. She was virtually here, but she's still directing things on Zoom. And we're here with 110 Zoom students, as well as we're getting thousands of downloads every day as well. We call the people who download it and we never know they're here. We call them the others. And then we have people here live. And then we have live when people show up outside of the quarantine. So we have a lot of live and many others will be joining us today. And we just came off a great show with our friend Ganesham, who everyone was like in tears yesterday, who worked in the hospital in New York City. And he's a chaplain. That was a great show. If you haven't heard yesterday's show, go check it out. And if you're joining us on Apple Podcasts, welcome. This is what we call Sleep In Saturday. We've moved it to 8 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. So everybody who's been waking up very early, especially the East Coasters, they get to sleep in a little bit. And we're hoping to attract more Californians. We got a few on the show today, which include Arizona as far as we're concerned. Kaustubha, how are you? Did he mute himself out of kindness?
He's not muted.
Oh, how's that?
There you go.
Okay. I muted it on my microphone.
Okay.
But I thought I just need to let go, but I see I got to click it again.
That's what I always tell you, Kaustubha. You need to just let go.
Let go. Okay.
Let go, Prabhu.
What do I need to let go of today? You're gonna.
I think you need to let go of me clamming. I felt like, oh my God, I got 2 introverts on the show yesterday. How am I going to deal with this? I was like, don't say anything. Don't. You guys were like having such a sophisticated conversation back and forth, and me being the extrovert extreme, just wanted to blurt out every 2 minutes. I really tried to, like, my wife just kept, don't say anything. Just let them talk. Let them talk. They're having an adult conversation. Put a cork in it.
Oh, but he was great. Ganesham, we have to bring him back, on some kind of regular basis, I think.
Well, if you don't mind, I wanted to read I want us to start with a letter I got from a doctor at one of the hospitals who's a devotee. I'm pouring Mara's magic mushroom brew, I call it, on Sleep In Saturday. But I got a letter yesterday I'd like to read. I thought it was a sort of an interesting letter.
Yeah, I got that letter too.
Yeah, we got that letter. We got that letter. Matter of fact, we're just play acting right now. He knows I'm going to read the letter, and I'm like, hey, let me read a letter. We're play acting. We talk about this ahead of time, what we're going to do. You blew it. You broke character, Kaustubha.
I didn't. I said I got that letter too. You could have just kept going along with it.
Okay, I blew it. All right. All right. We got to work more on our drama before what we're going to come out and say. This is all rehearsed.
But as far as
hours in advance.
That's
we're
as far as we got.
1 in the morning, actually.
It's as far as we got is that we're going to read this thing. So
yes,
where this goes, we don't know. But
yes, but his name is Vrajabhumi. It's a good name, Vrajabhumi.
Vrajabhumi's a great guy.
I don't think I've met him, or if I did, I don't remember.
Or he was very young when you met him, possibly from the letter. But he describes himself as a Wisdom of the Sages addict, and he's a doctor. And I don't know what hospital he is in New York. I thought he was in the Bronx. I think he's in the Bronx.
I thought he was in Delaware. He lives in New York.
How does New York? Yeah, and he said that he bumped into me the other day.
Oh, I was wondering how you bumped into him.
Yeah, because I was out,
especially during a quarantine.
I went out.
Matter of fact, I'm one of those quarantine whistleblowers.
You're like the police.
My co-host is out publicly.
So I
How
went
much
out.
do I get for that? Do they give you money if you're a whistleblower and quarantine people? They're trying to make it like that. You know that?
I didn't know that,
Yeah.
but I don't know who they are and how they're planning on making it like that. But in any case, I was right after the show, very early in the morning. I went out to chant some japa. I was walking up Fifth Avenue, and I was stopped at the corner, and I was just chanting away there. And a car pulled up, and it was Vrajabhumi, who was on his way. He was, because he's working these super crazy schedules. All these doctors work these long, hard schedules, and what to speak of right now. So he was on his way to the hospital, chanting his rounds, as he was driving, because he's just trying to squeeze it in wherever he can. So that was nice to see him. But he's one of these people, real salt of the earth kind of people, just really just good guy all around, undented can. There's no,
Yeah, those people drive me crazy.
there's no greed in this person. There's no anger in this person.
He's got no
There's lust.
issues to work out.
No issues where he's just like serving the world out there happily, like a really humble, good person. So
People like that should make me happier, but instead they make me feel like, what is so wrong with me? Let's read his letter. Because Harry Bol, Dandavat Pranams. I've been meaning to write both of you for a while. I just wanted to sincerely thank you both for what you're doing and introduce myself to Raghunath because he met you this morning. And lastly, also a question. I am one of the others and also a Patreon member, and I haven't missed a podcast yet. I was born into the movement in the early 80s. So if you're not familiar with that means their parents were already practicing devotees of Krishna. And some of you are on the show like this right now. And then so you grew up with your parents as devotees of Krishna. And he's Indian bodied, right?
Indian body, but born and raised in
America. So Indian body. That's how we say it in Bhakti circles. I'm white bodied or whatever.
I don't say it actually.
You don't say it? I like it. I like it because it makes you different than your body. Oh, he's black body, Asian, whatever it is. It's not you. He's Indian bodied.
I suppose. Just too awkward for me.
Indian bodied. Well, yeah. Well, nowadays you don't even know what you can say anymore. Can you say, is he black? Can you say that? They changed these rules of what to say. And I live upstate New York. I never get the memo. I never get the memo of what to say.
Don't go too far off on that tangent, Rob. Keep reading the letter.
I know. I got to keep it cool. I'm going to get called out. Call out culture. All right, continuing on. So anyway, he grew up as a devotee, and he said, here's one. His Satsrup Das Goswami.
No, you missed. He said, I haven't missed a podcast yet.
I said that, Baba.
Did you?
Anyway, our home in Baltimore was where a lot of devotees would come and stay. And His Holiness Satsrup Das Goswami did a huge program at our house once, and some of the shelter members came.
Okay. You remember it? Were you there?
I can't remember if I went. I was too young to remember who, and they gave my older brother a poster from Attaining the Supreme album, and I believe they signed the back of it. We still have it framed up and hanging on the wall. And the mantra was the first CD we were allowed to buy because my parents...
Your band had a record called Mantra.
Yeah, we had a record called Mantra, and they said it was the first record they were allowed to buy because their parents thought it was kirtan. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know. But I just wanted you to both know that myself and a lot of other second generation devotees love hearing the podcast and really connect with it. Thank you.
Yeah, so second generation means that their parents were also into bhakti and then they were born into it.
So he goes on to say, I work in a hospital right now and I'm on the front lines as a resident physician, and my specialty is actually physical rehab and sports medicine. But currently, no matter what your specialty is, all of us at the hospital have been deployed to help cover COVID units floors.
Right.
We have over 1,800 COVID admissions over our hospital systems, multiple locations, and one of the main COVID hospitals in the city. It's been crazy these last few weeks, and it would take forever to explain it, but mostly emotionally draining. from how unstable these patients can be and how quick they can turn for the worse, to the fear of you or a colleague at work getting it while doing chest compressions or caring for these patients. There's so much unknown anxiety. Much of my day is spent at the hospital, and even when I come home, we often have meetings due to the crisis. My sadhana is not focused or as strong because I'm so drained when I get back from work, or I have spent time reading or learning things about medicine rather than reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. Even my dreams sometimes are about work instead of nice dreams of something Krishna conscious. I could just comment on this whole, it's so beautiful to hear how, like, you know, devotees are living and they're sacrificing, and at the same time he's sad because he's not having Krishna conscious dreams. I wish I was born into a devotee family. I'm gonna have to take birth again just pray to take birth again so I can grow up with that type of guilt. That's like beautiful guilt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if what I'm doing is actually seva, or if it's just the mode of goodness, which is not what I want. I want bhakti. I want akarma. I think about that verse in the Bhagavatam. The occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are so much useless labor if they do not provoke the attraction to the message of the personality of Godhead. And that was the verse I was quoting in the Sweet Baby Krishna the other day. And I wonder if I'm just wasting my life away. I don't think he is.
I don't think he is either.
I don't think he is. He's got a serious sadhana, and he's helping people, and that self-sacrifice. Truthfully, it really boils down to: am I learning the lesson of I'm not the center? You know. Of course, it's got to be balanced, because some people who are codependent, they end up sacrificing so much they kill themselves. You need a disclaimer for codependent people. What do you think about that?
I'm just, as I read this, you know, so sincere.
Yeah.
And you know, we spoke with Ganesham yesterday, who's really tending to the spiritual needs of people in the hospital. And Vrajabhumi here, we can see he's tending to the bodily needs of people in the hospital. And it seems like, you know, because of that, he doesn't always feel the direct connection to the spiritual, because he's dealing so much with the physical, you know. But, you know, we all have a role to play in this world. We're not all meant to be swamis. We're not all meant to be teachers. We're not all meant to be renunciates. We're not all meant to, you know, it's like, everybody's playing their role, and we need doctors in this world, and he's playing that role. And when that you know, the doctor can play such an important role in life. I think the way that I see this, you know, he's a young man, Vrajabhumi, and I'd imagine that he's not exactly in training right now, but this is, in one sense, we're always in training.
Yeah.
And I picture Vrajabhumi as he's growing older being some kind of very important doctor. And I think that's a position from which you can also do a lot of very direct service, a lot of very direct connecting people spiritually. And I anticipate seeing that in his future. And the experience that he's going through right now, he's describing how emotionally draining it is, right?
Yeah.
It's you know, the hours are long, the stress is very intense in there, and you're trying to save people, you're watching them die. You know, there's a lot of anxiety amongst the staff. Am I also going to get sick? And he's going through something right now that's very intense. I don't think that, you know, I remember my guru, who was serving Srila Prabhupada in India, in Mumbai, which was Bombay at the time. They were struggling so hard there. You know, there's a whole history to them trying to establish a big, beautiful temple, which now exists as the ISKCON Juhu temple. And there's problems from the government, there's problems from the locals, there's problems from all kind of different angles, health problems and gangster problems and political problems and fights in the courts. And my guru was just having to go through all that. And he came to Prabhupada and said, I know that the Mumbai, you know, codes, you know, like the different law books of Mumbai, I don't know, real estate codes or whatever it was, construction codes. And I know that better than I know the Bhagavad Gita right now. I'm not thinking the Bhagavad Gita. And Srila Prabhupada, he described that kind of anxiety you're going for. He said, that's Krishna anxiety. You're doing it on, you're doing it on behalf. And he said, you should purchase that at any price. And I think, I see Vrajabhumi's role as, he's going to be an expert doctor. He's going to tend to people physically, but he's also going to be able to tend to people spiritually. And I think that what you're going through right now, that emotional drain that you're going through, it's pushing you to deeper realizations about life. I'm 100% sure of it. I know it, And so my thoughts to my friend Vrajabhumi is, I don't worry that you're not doing the right thing. I know already you're a very deep devotee, and this is Krishna's way of deepening that in some way. How it plays out, in the future, I'm sure it will play out in some important way. Is that all right? What do you think about that, Raghu?
I think that's beautiful. I'm wondering if I left the stove on.
Okay.
Let me scream at my kids.
Okay, well, as you go, maybe I should continue with the letter. He brings up another subject here. And so let's read this and discuss it a bit. He says, also recently I've been seeing a lot of posts by people about how this pandemic is just a hoax and it's not real and it's just a big conspiracy. This is so sad to see because every day I see how so many people are working so hard, literally putting their lives on the line, how crowded the hospital is, that we've had to turn any open space like lecture halls, therapy gyms, auditoriums into COVID units. And lastly, the amount of deaths, including Vaishnavas that are dying, Bhakti-yogis. Why would people post such things? It just seems many are not trusting of this world or leadership to the point that it affects their perception of reality. But in this case, it's so negative and unnecessary in a time when there is so much suffering and fear in the world. Just wanted to hear some of your thoughts. So that was a, somewhat of a hot topic out there right now, right?
Are we talking about the
conspiracy theorists?
By the way, my house did not burn down. It was incense issues.
Okay.
Hashtag Bhakti issues. Left some incense burning on the wrong thing. Smoked up my whole house. Well, I just want to say, living in upstate New York on a dirt road, I don't know there's no news. You can't figure out what is your genuine news source. So all you know is some Instagram feed where you hear Donald Trump on the news, and then you hear some other opposing idea of how bad it is, how good it is. It's not a big deal. And truthfully, there's no one to believe. And so even myself, I've been getting like messages from people, not devotees, but not just devotees. I just happen to know devotees. But they're like, is this thing really real? Is it happening? I got this message that said all the hospitals are empty. It was all fabricated. So when you hear these stories from these doctors or from this chaplain, and they're saying, this is definitely real, I just want people to know out there, it's real. It's real. It's affecting people. And I think it's important just to clarify that it's all real. So
either that or Ganesham was doing a great acting job as a conspirator yesterday.
Yeah, maybe he's held by the conspiracy theorists, the guys who were orchestrating this entire drama.
But we're both 54 years old.
Yes, we are.
And so
and our birthday's both in January.
That's true too. So we've lived a few years, and from my perspective, and you can share with me if you agree, historically, in the history that we've lived through, I don't think I've ever seen people's cognitive biases be so deeply set. So that, in other words, I believe something based on whether it falls on the line of my general beliefs, rather than examining it, on a case-by-case basis. So, like, in other words, like they do experiments right now. Like, if you voted for this candidate, then we can always already say everything that you believe. Right?
Yeah, we already know. We know everything that you believe if you voted for that candidate.
Yeah, right down the line on somebody. And if you voted for the other one, we know that you. So it's not like people. It seems like, on a mass basis, people are losing their ability to think critically.
This is what we have to reclaim, especially when you get into bhakti, because something you believe may not agree with your political party, and then other things will agree with your political party. You have to really be a critical thinker, and you have to be a little bit fearless of what your friends might say to you. Like, oh, you don't believe in that? I thought you were like this. And I find that in my, my bhakti career, can you say that? My bhakti career,
Yeah.
I've stand on either side, swing back and forth, and you're really forced to let go of opting in to a particular left wing, right wing, whatever thing. And you just feel like, well, what is Krishna's desire? And it cuts through a lot of the political dogma. We talk about religious dogma, political dogma.
Yeah.
That you just are supposed to blindly accept without really thinking. And you're right. You can, if you tell me who you voted for, I'll tell you exactly what you believe. And oftentimes there's not a lot of critical thinking. How many times do we actually listen to what the other side has to say? Like, what are their actual points about things? I think it's important. If you're going to say I'm left wing or I'm going to say I'm right wing, spend some solid time listening to the other opinions and hear their sides, or else we're not going to develop any critical thinking. We're just going to opt in to check out. And I don't think that's good for a spiritualist. I don't think that's good for just anybody in life, period.
I'm with you, Raghu. I'm with you on that, 100%. And I also believe that when it comes to conspiracy theories,
they're all true. No?
That wasn't what I was going to say.
Okay, forget it.
But some of them are true. I'm sure some of them are true, and some of them aren't true. But
right. I mean, it's not like our government has never lied to us. It's not like the CIA doesn't do covert things. It's not like the Bay of Pigs never happened. These are just like things happen all the time. But just running with, if you want to get to the original conspiracy, Prabhupada said we never went to the moon. He said it, and it blew people's mind. And then he sort of, I don't know if he retracted or he said, well, even if they did go to the moon, they didn't see what was there, which is another way to put it. You know what I mean?
Sure. But
Kaustubha's like, oh, I didn't believe he said that. I didn't believe he just said that.
No, I'm not thinking that at all. That's just your own theory.
That's my Kaustubha conspiracy theory.
But you see, connected to what we're saying about political beliefs, so there's certain people that just will cling to any conspiracy theory. And I think there's other people that will deny any conspiracy theory. And whether they're true or not, this is my main point, is that for a Vedantin,
yes,
and that means like a yogi who goes to the Vedic literature as a basis of truth, right? That we experiment with these texts, we put them to the test, we see if they consistently satisfy our inquiry. We see if by following them we get the kind of results that we would expect. We continually, apply our mind and our critical thought to them. And if based on that some faith builds in that, then the yogi uses that as what we call our pramana, like our basis of truth. And that becomes something solid. That's something that lasts you through the different political swings, that lasts you through the different theories and conspiracy theories and so on. Whether or not, for instance, did Lee Harvey Oswald kill Kennedy as a lone gunman? Personally, I doubt it, right. But I can't prove it either way. Right. And how caught up in it will I become? And once you get your mind deeply absorbed in these things, right, it begins to cling to them more and more, and you can get lost in that world, lost in a world that has no factual basis. And it's all guesswork.
People who are new to this, I just want to share with you sometimes where we've seen, we should start a whole episode called Where Devotees Have Gone Wrong, where they just get into a conspiracy theory. And instead of Bhakti, Krishna, our young cowherd friend, Srimati Radharani, chant the holy name, don't criticize, find the good in people. They go right into a conspiracy theory and they run with it. And it's like the kite string has been cut and they go float away into devotee conspiracy land. And it is sad. It doesn't mean they don't exist. And you made a great point there.
And it means, in the way that I see it often play out, is like with this extreme bitterness and criticism, arrogance. It gets worse and worse and deeper and deeper and deeper until you get into a state of consciousness that is so far from a bhakti or yogic consciousness. And I see some people I know are Vaishnavas or devotees of Krishna, and you see like on their social media pages, it's just nothing but conspiracy theories and anger and frustration. And
it's a trick, Maya. It's a trick of Maya.
You've been tricked.
They've been tricked. That's a new hashtag. You've been tricked. You've been tricked.
Well, that's what they say too. Right? They'll probably be the first to buy the shirt.
Even if we didn't go to the moon, it was all a hoax. What are you going to do about it? Big deal. Like big deal.
No, there's an irony in that. In other words, like they're saying, you've been tricked, but we're saying, no, you've been tricked.
You've been tricked. We've been tricked. And you're going to break the conspiracy.
Yeah.
On a side note, do you believe we went to the moon? I'm not saying it even matters. I'm just curious if because you're sort of level-headed and grounded.
I don't know.
There you go. That's a fair answer.
How's that?
I took these punks. Can you see them here? I took these punks to the what was it, that museum called? Air and Space Museum, and we went to see the what was it, the Apollo 16, Apollo 19, whatever went to the moon. And if you look at that ship, there is no way that thing went to the moon. There is no way. It's something like you would build in a movie set 40 years ago, if you look at that thing. And, and there's a whole theory, like the guy who runs NASA was a Nazi. This is true. That's in Wikipedia. He was, but we employed a lot of Nazis after the war.
Hold it, Rogo. It sounds like you're starting to get into conspiracy.
Well, I mean, if out of the two of us, if we took a vote right here on the chat board, who would be the conspiracy theorist of the two? I'm sure I would get that. They would vote for me. But, those are just real things. But I'm not saying that we should meditate on it all the time. I'm just saying it's got nothing to do with
to wrap this up.
Let's wrap this up.
What I want to say.
Back to the moon landing, doesn't it?
Is that as a Vedantin, I have a way that I try to determine what is truth. Ultimately, I depend on the Vedic literature, right? I depend on that as a solid source of information. And I'm not going to absorb myself and waste my time on things that one, can't change, and two, don't really know about.
Yeah. It's like that whole circle of influence, anything, and the circle of concern. It's like, if you can't change it anyway, big deal. If you've been lied to anyway, you know what? It comes from, I think, a deep-rooted, I don't trust. I think they should just work on
trust has been broken.
Their trust issues. They've been hurt. They've had a parent that's hurt them from the ages 1 to 7, which is where we create all our theories. All right, let's get into the Bhagavatam.
Let's get into the Bhagavatam.
We start with our meditation. If you're new to the show, welcome. You got it right. Mara, our executive producer here, our senior executive producer, to get on our live show. Wisdom of the Sages 108@gmail.com. You two kids climb up. Okay. We start with this prayer. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesh vabhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will be completely eradicated, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established in the heart as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnanatamurandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Milatam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes, we are.
And this is We're in a great section of the Bhagavatam right now.
There you go again.
I say that every class, but this is really great section.
It is actually. It really is.
And we're Bhishma Dev, our great hero, is the son of Mother. He is the son of Mother Ganga.
He is,
right? Ganga Putra, the son of Mother Ganga, and a great warrior. He lived a very tough life. Sometimes people who have it all, he was privileged. He had it all, and he suffered tremendously. No one gets a pass from suffering in the material world. It's what you do with your misfortunes is what matters. So in text 29, we're going to dive in. While Bhishma Dev was describing Dharma, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. So he's dying. He's on his deathbed. He's laying on a bed of arrows, and he's giving his last instructions to Yudhisthira how to run an empire. This period is desired. So the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystics who die at their will. So there's a category of mystics who can die at will. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men stopped speaking, and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who stood before him, four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. Question for you, Mr. Kaustubha.
Yes.
It seems like he's worshiping Vishnu, like Krishna appeared with 4 arms to him. So Bhishma worshipped Vishnu and not Krishna?
You're saying that from the previous text that mentioned 4 arms?
Yeah.
That was like a few days ago that we read.
No, I just read it.
I'm sorry. I was spacing out.
It's okay. I caught you like
Text
I caught
30,
Mara
yeah?
yesterday.
He fixed his eyes on who
Look,
stood
Mara.
before.
Mara's happy that I caught you.
Gotcha. You
Look
caught
at her
me.
face.
You got
She's
me. I guess,
I like doing it at 8 o'clock because you can see Mara. Otherwise, she hides in the shadows.
My understanding of that would be that he worshipped him in that way in his life. So he appeared to him that way at his death. That's all I could say. Is there something in the commentary about that?
I'm lost now. All right. I'm going to go on text 31.
No, hold on. I thought, it just struck me as we were reading this that you were talking about how Bhishma Dev had so many struggles in life.
Yeah.
And when you read Mahabharata, you get that like he was ready to die.
He was ready. He was like eager. Give me that sweet kiss of death.
And because there was always so much political struggle, responsibilities that he had to take care of in his life. He was a person, and I see it, and you see the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because it just reminded me of Vrajabhumi's letter, where he's a person taking on real responsibilities in the world, and his devotional heart is feeling like, oh, when can I just be fully absorbed in Krishna? When can I just be fully absorbed in love of God? I have so many difficult tasks to take care of. And I think that pattern of thought, that I'm a Bhakti-yogi within, and I'm struggling with difficult responsibilities without, and it makes me feel like, when will that time come when I'm just fully absorbed on the spiritual? I think that's like a really powerful recipe for spiritual advancement. It manifests in a kind of deep realization. And for Bhishma, although so many years he struggled with the political situation, that when that big test in life came at the moment of death, he was fully absorbed in God, fully absorbed spiritually.
It's work now, samadhi later.
Yeah.
Isn't that a great saying? Work now, samadhi later.
Yeah.
Was that Prabhupada's saying?
Prabhupada did say that. And I believe, ultimately the Gita is going to show us how even when we're absorbed in our work, we can be absorbed in samadhi too. That's there. But when we're not fully absorbed, then we work hard in the world and we engage our mind, we engage our senses, we engage our intelligence and our energy. And we combine that with good sadhana, with the right hearing and the right chanting, the right association, et cetera, et cetera. And that
I think we're
becomes a
developing a
strong
theme.
path.
I think we're developing a theme for this class. Your guru's story about establishing the Bombay temple,
Work now, Samadhi later.
Vrajabhumi, Bhishma Dev and all his politics he had to deal with. And now look how they're all wonderfully ending. Like
Yeah.
everyone's drawing it in. And Kaustubha, I've found people who've just been like, you know what, I can't take the material world. And what they do is they become an expat, or they move to even move to India, or they move to Costa Rica, or they move to some place where the American dollar is strong. And I tell you, it doesn't work for their bhakti. It doesn't work for their bhakti often. Oftentimes, they might have less clutter in their life, but they also have sort of like, no, we need our mission. We have to figure out what our mission is. What is my actual offering? Just walk around the beaches of Costa Rica. It sounds great. Give it a month. You'll be bored out of your mind, and you'll be looking, now what do I do? And generally, I mean, because I had a time where I spent a lot of time in Costa Rica. You just find a lot of people who are these expats, and they're all alcoholics. And they had a crazy busy life. They got into, the tech industry and made some money and a .com, blah, blah, blah. And they'll just become alcoholics, ex-surfers. And I see it happens with people who just want to live in India. And I don't want to work so hard. That's why it was hard for me to understand Indians when I was a brahmachari. I don't know if you went through this. I was like 22-year-old brahmachari. And there were some Indians that were my age going to the temple and at the Sunday feast, but they were getting there. They were becoming doctors. And in my mind, I was like, don't you understand, you fools? Life is temporary. What are you doing in med school? And I realized they got a bigger picture. They got a bigger picture about family, about career. At that time in my life, I was like, this is it. I'm going to be a monk my entire life. And so there is a bigger picture. And it's okay to take on the hustle, but the hustle should have some ultimate direction into like a selfless service and what you can give back for all that you've gotten. What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
I appreciate that. Yeah, I agree that life is not meant to find a cushy circumstance.
Yeah.
Life isn't meant to find some great place or situation for my enjoyment. That strategy will lead to depression and suffering, and et cetera. Yeah.
Depression.
It's a bit counterintuitive.
Sure.
But the way that the yogi thinks is when those pleasures come my way, that's nice. But I don't spend my life seeking that. I spend my life seeking, how will I serve? And then even though I may not be on the beautiful beach in Costa Rica, I'm getting the purpose of life is being fulfilled, that I'm getting deeper realizations about what it's all about. And that often requires sacrifice. In one sense, it always requires self-sacrifice.
Sure.
Bhishma's life was a life of self-sacrifice. And in the end, he had this incredible death.
In this purport on 30.
Yeah.
We just read 30, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Prabhupada goes into quoting the Gita, which is cool. Let me read the purport. Do you mind?
Please do.
In the momentous hour of leaving his material body, Bhishma Dev set the glorious example concerning the important function of the human form of life. The subject matter, which attracts the dying man, becomes the beginning of his next life. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
The subject matter, which attracts the dying man, becomes the beginning of his next life.
It's interesting because the first canto, Srila Prabhupada wrote and edited himself. And therefore we get italics. Like the rest of the ones were made by people transcribing, his
speaking
dictation.
through a microphone, yeah.
Yeah, so in the first canto, you see that he put that in italics. The subject matter which attracts the dying man becomes the beginning of his next life.
Therefore, if one is absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, he is to go back to Godhead without any doubt. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, 8.5 to 8.15. And whoever, this is 5, and whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna at the time and carry out your prescribed duty of fighting.
That's
With
one of my
your-
favorite verses right there. I'm sorry. Continue.
You
Yeah.
may. I love to hear your joy. Share your joy. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and being transcendental is beyond the material nature. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and in full devotion engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord will certainly attain to the personality of Godhead. Persons learned in the Vedas who utter Omkara and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now explain to you this process by which many attain salvation. 12. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the skull or head. One establishes himself in yoga. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planets. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Prita, because of this his constant engagement in bhakti, or devotional service. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary material world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. That was great. What a great one of shlokas.
It's a great series. And, in that chapter, there's that description of, the time when you leave your body can determine how the soul travels through space, in a sense. And that yogis could figure that out and leave the body at will so that they would have a easy journey, right, to other planets. But in the end, Krishna is going to say to Arjuna, but you don't have to worry about that because you're my devotee. And this to me, this relates to everything that we've been talking about today, about conspiracy theories, about political situations, and there's a verse towards the end of the chapter, text 827.
Yeah.
And this, Krishna's talking about two different paths. And one is a path where you, by your own yogic power, you choose the time to leave your body and you travel, which is a very difficult path. And the other is a path where you just dedicate yourself to God. God takes care of everything. We see that plays out in the Yoga Sutras as well, where it's described how difficult it is to achieve Samadhi through Ashtanga Yoga. But then Patanjali says, or Ishvara Pranadhan, or you can surrender your life to God, and that takes care of the whole thing.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah,
Bhakti-yoga answers all these questions.
It answers it all, and it's practical for us. But there's a verse, text 827, where Krishna says, although the devotees know these two paths, O Arjuna, they are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. And I think that verse, it not only applies to, how you leave your body, but I think it also applies to all these other ideas, like conspiracy theories, political, like those, when you fix yourself in devotion, you're not bewildered. And I think sometimes even those that are trying to be yogis and trying to be bhaktas, they get bewildered by that stuff. They get too lost in it.
They get lost in it.
Yeah, but I see those devotees that I really respect. I see that those person, their devotion is deep, their knowledge is deep, their understanding is deep. I see they're never bewildered by these things. You know, they keep their steady mind, they keep serving, they keep their sadhana going, and they pass through this world with a level head and doing something real and something valuable. You know, you broke your chair again?
Played in my chair and then I sunk. Okay, let's go on. It's I agree with those. I agree with that. They're whenever you're starting to focus on an other, they become the other. And for devotees, we actually have no enemies. We hate the sin. We don't hate the sinner.
You just said something. I got to pull it up. Okay.
What you got?
Because what you just said just shows just how on you are, Raghunath.
What?
Yes.
Me?
Just how on you are.
I'm just running behind.
Because no, you're right on it. Because I, my friend Jai Jagannath, he's a great soul and a Bhagavatam enthusiast and scholar. He recently, I was thinking if we're going to talk about conspiracy theories, pulling out, because he recently put a post on Facebook that dealt with exactly with what we're talking about, like Bhakti-yogis who might get too caught up in conspiracy theories, and then other Bhakti-yogis just like denying any conspiracy theory, you know.
Sure.
And how we get caught on other side. And in the thread, someone, I don't know if it was him or someone else, I want to find it right now, quoted Bhagavatam. Oh no, he did in his original post. And this is Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto speaking. You ready? And this is going to just prove how right on you are, Raghunath.
Did Prahlad mention conspiracy theories?
No, but what he said is this. He said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose external energy has created the distinction of my friend and my enemy by diluting the intelligence of men. Indeed, I am now actually experiencing this, although I have previously only heard of it from authoritative sources." This state of vision, right? That, hey, people are really caught up on this political end.
Yeah.
To the point where they're angry and bitter. It's fine to to want to serve the world, but I'm angry, I'm bitter, my mind is always full of that. Then someone's on the other end with this in the exact same state of mind. Different political policies, but the exact same state of mind.
You've been tricked.
You've been tricked.
Trick's on you. You've been tricked. Maya wins again.
Maya wins again.
Doing it for the righteous cause. You've been tricked by Maya to hate. And now you hate a whole political group.
Right. So when it gets to that point where there's anger and bitterness and hatred, Prahlad Maharaj is saying, I've heard about this before, but I'm watching it play out right now. And that's the way that those are fixed in devotion pass through these times. It's saying, I'm watching how the material energy is putting different people on different sides of these issues and making them see each other as enemies. They're getting lost in the material energy. And that's not to deny that political policies are important and in the way that we govern ourselves, that these things are important. I'm not denying that. But when you get caught up in bitterness and hatred and you get into that place where you can no longer think critically, you've been tricked. You've been tricked by the external energy.
Anyway, this is the mudra of hashtag. I don't know if you picked up on that. Hashtag you've been tricked.
Hashtag you've been tricked.
Yes, you can all do that mudra right now. Hashtag you've been tricked. It's true. Maya's got you again. When you think you're doing it for the right cause, Maya's always trying to sneak in and place it, grab your ego and put it right in, even your desire to help, your desire for welfare for the world, your desire to call out those bad guys over there that are oppressing you. Careful.
Be careful.
Because
how do we be careful?
We're claiming they're all the others, like there's this massive group. And what we do is we forget actually everybody's an individual, and everybody's got an experience, and everybody's got like a backstory. And also we forget our position to actually love. We are actually called in this world to love, be compassionate and tolerant, just like good teachers have been with me in my life. And therefore I have to give that back. And you don't, there's another thing we say here on Wisdom of the Sages. What do you do with the mean? Why is there mean dogs in the world? Well, they have a backstory. They've been treated meanly. They've been beaten. How do you change a mean dog? Do you beat them?
That's what made them a mean dog.
Yeah, you love them.
You love them up. Okay. Just like you love
My
Gus.
daughter's pointing out the window. Yeah, but what about you and the geese? We have these geese on the
You're mean to
property
the
that are
geese?
mean. And I'm mean back to them because they always come up and hiss at me. And she's
I
like, "You're
see.
too mean to the geese."
But you know what you just said to me, you're getting right to the point, Raghunath.
Kids think they know
It's
everything.
that it's not wrong for us to have political beliefs. It's
Mhm.
not wrong for us to try to serve the world politically. It's not wrong for us to believe that something might be a conspiracy. It's not wrong for us to be concerned that people are seeing conspiracies where they're not. But if we're following this path well, we've already adopted certain ideas and certain behaviors. Like, for instance, I'll treat people kindly, even if I disagree with them.
Yeah.
When we start breaking out of that and start speaking arrogantly and speaking harshly, speaking to hurt others, to humiliate others, etc., we've been tricked. We've lost touch with what's important, and we're going to, and our consciousness is just getting darker and darker and darker. So therefore, the Vaishnava, the real Bhakti-yogi, they've imbibed. That's what all that training and etiquette and all that was for, so that I imbibe these ideas very deeply. I'm always respectful. I'm always respectful with whoever I meet.
Mm.
That is protects one from the consciousness going into dark places. And then where do I get my truth? Where do I place my faith? I don't place it on anything that I read on the internet. I don't place it, I can't place my full conviction in whether chemtrails are real or whether this or that,
They're real.
I can't place my full conviction in these things and invest all my energy in it. I have to invest my energy in the spiritual truths that I found to be sound. All right. You good with that? Or you're muted, Raghu. There you go.
That's rare. Guess what?
That's rare.
I hope you enjoyed Sleep In Saturday.
Lost.
And now we're having Sleep In Sunday, Sleep In Easter Sunday. So we were like, should we do the show on Easter Sunday? And my wife was like, do the show. So we're doing the show tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Thanks for everybody for joining us live on Zoom. And also thanks for everybody joining us on Apple Podcast. Seriously, everybody give us a 5-star review. We need public to understand, like, this is something you can take shelter of during times of crisis. We need to turn towards the new pandemic that's happening, which is a spiritually conscious viral thing that's going around with a lot of tragedy in the world. A lot of people are turning to spirit, and we want to be here that supporting your needs. If you want to support us, we appreciate your support. The cost for a cup of coffee, the cost for your latte would help Kaustubha feed himself
You don't have to
for a month.
like that.
That's patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. He eats very little. Patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. Thanks, everybody. Now is the fun time. This is the time that sets up our whole day. Come on, Rocco. Oh, I forgot the most important part of his letter. He gave me the translation
Yeah.
of what the Mayapuris say at the end of this song.
I'm going to break out that translation. You want to translate it right
No,
now for
I
everyone?
gotta put it. Yeah, I'm gonna put
Want me
it
to
on
read
the
it?
board. I'm gonna put it on the board.
Okay.
Here it is right now. It's coming up. I gotta do it quick.
No, this isn't it.
No. Oh no,
You
it's
still
not.
got time. But I'll translate it for everyone right now. You ready?
I just sent it. Did that go through?
Yeah, well, not everybody's, the others don't get that.
Or the others don't get that? I just sent it to Leslie Lotto. For some reason, she's on my. Why? Why didn't Leslie Lotto get that?
Anyway, this is what it is. It's Sri Radha is my Swamini. She's like my female lord, right? And I'm her servitor. Birth after birth, please give me the opportunity to be a resident of Sri Vrindavan. What happened to the music? It's coming up.
Right now, ready? Janam Janama Mohi Dijo Shri Vrindavan Gopa. Oh, we got the whole family here. Hey, Jaya Radhe, Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jai Radhe. Come on, kid. Jai Radhe. Get lower. Show me your tooth. Tarun lost a tooth. Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jai Radhe. Oh.